Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Hi, Meredith.
How are you doing?
Hi, everybody. Can you see me and hear me okay? Yes.
Oh, there's a
How are you doing?
delay. I might come out and come back in again. Okay, I'm back again.
Does that seem better, Meredith?
Yes, I think so. I'll talk a little bit and we'll see. I just popped out again because I could hear there was like an echo.
Yeah, there was an echo just now.
Oh, is there still an echo?
Oh no, there's no echo anymore.
Oh, no, not anymore. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, what I might do is share my screen so that we are all set to go and making sure there are no technical issues today. Oh, sharing is not turned on. I'll send request.
I'll mention this to Kirshin so she can make you as a co-host.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully I'm sharing the right thing. Is that looking okay?
That looks fantastic.
Great. Okay, I'll just advance the slides to make sure it's going okay. Is that advancing? Hopefully so.
Everything's okay.
Great, excellent. All right, I think we're pretty good to go, which is good. I always like being in early because I get a bit nervous, and so it's good to know that everything's working okay.
Don't worry, that's normal for everyone.
And being early helps my nervousness or my anxiousness, so that's good.
Agree.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. So what I might do, okay, I'm sharing. I can see the chat. Okay. video and audio. Okay, now that I'm set up, what I might do is just turn off my video and my audio for a moment, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Not, like about 5 minutes. Then I'll just wait on the call.
Hi, team.
Hello.
Can you hear me and see me as well?
I can
1, 2, 3. All good?
all
Okay.
good. Let's go.
Good. Hey, Meredith. So who's going to run the slideshow?
I believe it's Dr. Low. I'll be supporting in the background, providing the questions that are going to appear on the YouTube live. I'll be
Okay.
sending them here. I'll be sending them in the WhatsApp group. And I'll also pick up questions that will be here inside the chat on Zoom.
Okay. Sounds good. No, it's just in terms of when we present, in terms of who should I talk to in terms of next slide. That's what I was asking.
I believe it's Dr. Low Hui Min.
Okay.
Oh, I think that Meredith would be the one to share the slides. Am I right? Based
Hey,
on what
Meredith.
Hi,
Are
Bodo.
you
How you
are
doing?
you controlling the slide deck?
Yes.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks.
So you can see them okay?
Yeah, beautiful. Perfect.
Great.
Sounds
So
good.
just prompt me if you'd like me to move forward during the slides that you're doing.
Will do. Sounds good.
And yeah, okay.
It's
All
way too
good.
hot for a jacket here, but
Oh, and
noblesse, noblesse oblige, as they say in France,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's pretty hot down here too. It's one of the horrible, hot, windy, very windy, gusty kind of days
Wow.
down here. So, but at least I don't have to wear a jacket, so that's something.
Yeah, put on the air conditioner already. So normally I
Mm,
don't do that. I hardly use it, but I closed all
mm,
the windows so to have no distraction there.
mm.
And you can hear me fine, so that's all good.
Yep,
Right.
can
Well,
see you and hear you perfectly
yeah,
fine. So that's
still at
that's
15
all
minutes. That's fine.
good. Yeah, yeah, plenty of time.
Hi, Meredith. I was starting to share some Auticon videos starting from 150. So I might stop your slideshow first, okay?
Okay.
Mm.
So, sorry, when are you going to start the videos?
I'll start this video at 150, which is also the time where I will start admitting our audience.
Yep.
I see. So before we formally launch, you let the videos run.
Yes.
Okay.
And will you then or you just stop sharing the videos and then I'll reshare my screen? Is that how it will work?
Yes, I will start the screen at 2 p.m. sharp, and then you will start share your slideshow again.
I'll share it again. Yep.
Okay. And are you going to do a little introduction? I mean, we will introduce ourselves, but in terms of the opening of it,
Oh, Daniel from Aim High will be sharing
Mm.
about Auticon, Rainbow, and Aim High before we start the sharing part, the slideshow.
did you say rainbow?
Oh, Rainbow, Rainbow. Rainbow is
Mm.
our company, uh, from Dr. Lowe's company.
Mm.
Okay. All right. All right. No, that's fine. It's just that if you provide the context and then Meredith and myself will introduce ourselves separately, that's fine.
关注的其实可以。
Very short.因为你们思考太深入了，这个 topic 你们就在这边讲难听是钻牛角尖哦，其实是有些东西都在你们身上哦，然后你们能够在那边讲。
I grew up in the rural town of Shepparton, a few hours away from Melbourne. It's a smaller rural city, mostly focused on agriculture and transport as its major industries. Certainly had an impact upon my development and growth.
Fraser, number one, he's a very positive kind of a person. He is very optimistic and very committed to his work, but he's also super interesting. He has a formidable knowledge on a whole range of topics. The types of challenges that autistic people face in the workplace can vary depending on the individual. Often people talk about social issues with autistic people, but if you take autistic people and put them into their own environment, an environment that suits them, it's just that they do social in a different way, that they interact in a different way.
Audicon's mission is provide meaningful employment for autistic talent all around the world. Our approach, our business model allows to integrate this unique group of individuals with a phenomenal skill set to the benefit for many of our clients.
At Auticon, our role as a job coach is part of a broader role as a neuro-inclusion specialist.
Being supported by a job coach with Auticon, getting a neuro-inclusive specialist to help you through everything has been truly a boon. It's been greatly helpful to have someone along with you to help you with interactions, to explain things, to help bridge the gap that's difficult for autistic individuals to truly do sometimes.
So neurodiverse people bring extra talent into the company that allows for an untapped resource in a number of different roles.
When I received the job offer and working for Microsoft specifically, it was a very fast and very quick turnaround. It was extremely exciting.
Fraser's role is really instrumental to what the commercial executives do as a role, which is effectively deal making and negotiating commercial and licensing outcomes of our customers.
Working for Microsoft has been amazing.
We support in a number of ways. We try to tailor it individually because, there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
There are multiple benefits, whether from an internal, external perspective, ESG perspective, or from a technical value-add perspective, looking at productivity and innovation.
The most important thing about working with Auticon is really about the services and the support mechanism that Auticon provides the consultants that we've hired in. It's not about ticking some kind of checkbox.
I presume you can still see the slide okay,
It's
Bo?
actually good for business.
Yeah, I can see the slide, no videos, yeah.
Yeah.
this doesn't work, we might just use 3 minutes and just play the video when we kick it off at 2 o'clock, because we have enough time. This is the Microsoft 3-minute video. We can just play it off the Auticon site, and you could share the screen then, Meredith.
That would take a bit to organise. Maybe they could share it through here in the room.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, sounds cool.
I grew up in the rural town of Shepparton, a few hours away from Melbourne. It's a smaller rural city, mostly focused on agriculture and transport as its major industries. Certainly had an impact upon my development and growth.
Fraser, number one, he's a very positive kind of a person. He is very optimistic and very committed to his work, but he's also super interesting. He has a formidable knowledge on a whole range of topics. The types of challenges that autistic people face in the workplace can vary depending on the individual. Often people talk about social issues with autistic people, but if you take autistic people and put them into their own environment, an environment that suits them, it's just that they do social in a different way, that they interact in a different way.
Audicon's mission is provide meaningful employment for autistic talent all around the world. Our approach, our business model allows to integrate this unique group of individuals with a phenomenal skill set to the benefit for many of our clients.
At Auticon, our role as a job coach is part of a broader role as a neuro-inclusion specialist.
Being supported by a job coach with Auticon, getting a neuro-inclusive specialist to help you for everything has been truly a boon. It's been greatly helpful to have someone along with you to help you with interactions, to explain things, to help bridge the gap that's difficult for autistic individuals to truly do sometimes.
So neurodiverse people bring extra talent into the company that allows for an untapped resource in a number of different roles.
When I received the job offer and working for Microsoft specifically, it was a very fast and very quick turnaround. It was extremely exciting.
Fraser's role is really instrumental to what the commercial executives do as a role, which is effectively deal-making and negotiating commercial and licensing outcomes with our customers.
Working for Microsoft has been amazing.
We support in a number of ways. We try to tailor it individually because, there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
There are multiple benefits,
folks,
whether
it's 2
from an
o'clock
internal,
now.
external perspective, ESG perspective, or from a technical
talk to the
value-add
admin.
perspective, looking at productivity and innovation.
The most important thing about working with Auticon is really about the services and the support mechanism that Auticon provides the consultants that
Hi,
we've
Daniel.
hired in. It's not about ticking
Hey,
some
I'm
kind
just
of
going to
checkbox.
contact the admin and
It's
ask her to
actually
post the
good for
video so I
business,
can
and that's very
start
much how I view
things.
it.
Oh, Kexin. Hey, Kexin. Thanks. Well, quite a few people have come in early. Are we ready to make a start? Or shall we wait a little more? Wow, we've already got 56 people here. Goodness. Are you all guys ready? Or should we wait a bit longer?
I'm
That's
ready.
okay. Happy
Good
to wait
go.
another minute, but I'm ready.
Well, I guess they can come in when they come in. We're expecting, there's already, goodness, 57 people here. 57 people here. We're expecting a turnout of over 150. My goodness. Hi, and welcome to everybody who's here on time. Thank you for being punctual. Brain fart, I needed the word punctual. And welcome to the webinar, How to Integrate Autistic Talent in the Professional World, by Auticon, brought to you by the collaboration of Aim High and Rainbow USM. Please give me a moment to introduce who these 3 organizations are: Rainbow USM, Aim High, and last but not least, Auticon. So Rainbow USM is a University Science Malaysia spin-off company primarily focused on special education training. The company currently specializes in providing training for parents and teachers, professional skills workshops in special education, autism learning assessments, and more. Did I need to wait for that? Never mind. Aim High is an autistic-led, professionally supported Malaysian NGO that serves autistic adults with level 1 support, also known as Asperger's, also known as high-functioning autism. We have been officially registered with the Malaysian Registration of Societies, ROS, since 2022, with 19 public appearances and webinars combined, featuring our members and the professionals that work alongside us. We are focused on advocacy, networking, peer support for autistic adults. Last but certainly not least, and the main people who everybody came for, Auticon is the largest majority autistic company in the world. Since 2009, delivering exceptional IT solutions by harnessing the distinctive skills of neurodivergent talent. Wow, they've got a long list of things that they specialize services they provide. So I'm just going to list it out. Business analytics, Salesforce administration.
That's okay. Don't steal my powder. It's okay. We're gonna go through it.
All right. So that's the three organizations, Auticon, which hasn't been brought out to you participants through the collaboration of Rainbow and Aim High. Now, thanks for listening to me, and I'm now going to pass the mic over to Dr. Lau Hui Min from USM Rainbow.
Thank you, Daniel. Just my check-in. Is the audio okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, great. So thank you everyone who are with us today. So we definitely are expecting more to join us. So today we are very excited to host Mr. Bodoman, Regional CEO and MD Asia Pacific, and Ms. Mary-Dave Ward, a leading advocate for neurodiversity, as they deliver an insightful talk on integrating autistic talents into the professional world. So first of all, I would like to introduce these two speakers. So Mr. Bodoman is currently the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Auticon. He has over 20 years of experience leading senior leadership role and worked extensively with boards, CEOs, and senior executives from global blue chip organizations across Australia and Europe. So Mr. Bodoman is passionate about building innovative social impact business, which are purpose-driven and shine through neurodiversity. And our second speaker is Ms. Mary-Dave Ward. She is the lead neuro inclusion specialist. So in addition to being a mother of an autistic child, Mary-Dave has 20 years experience working for several well-known NGOs that has a focus on providing better outcomes for autistic people. She is truly passionate about providing a better future for those on the spectrum and communicating the valuable contribution they can make to businesses. So without further ado, I would like to invite them to present to us about how to integrate autistic talent into the professional world. So while the speakers are presenting, everyone, feel free to put your questions or your comments in the chat box. I and our team here will help to compile your questions, and we will post it to the speakers to address in between their talk here. So now I will pass the session over to Mr. Bodoman and Ms. Mary-Dave Ward.
Thank you very much. I mean, much appreciated, and you made me blush here, like with the introduction. Let me do a very quick introduction of myself, and then I hand over to Meredith, and then we will go through a few selected pages. And we encourage you to ask questions, type them in, and we will, endeavor our best to respond and get to all of them. So Bodo Men is my name. I tend to use Bo in Malaysia, that because the Bahasa translation is not very fortunate or funny. And so I had to learn it the hard way when I was working 6 months in Jakarta. But I'm the regional CEO and managing director for Asia Pacific. So that means I'm leading the team, a phenomenal team in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm spearheading the Southeast Asia expansion in Malaysia, as well as in Singapore, and hopefully soon in Thailand as well. And I'm happy to talk to that a little bit more. Meredith,
Thanks,
please.
Bodo. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. It's a great pleasure, and I'm very excited to be here. As mentioned, I am a parent. Actually, both of my adult sons have a diagnosis, so I've been on this journey for nearly 30 years. Being the lead neuroinclusion specialist at Auticon means that I'm not technical. I don't have a technical background, but my area of knowledge and experience is around autism and supporting all of our technologists with regard to soft skills, so things like communication, etc., and also working very closely with our technical director to support all of our clients and partner organisations. I've been at Auticon for nearly 4 years, I think, so it's a great pleasure to be here, and I look forward to receiving lots of questions and comments. So, Bodo, back to you.
Thank you very much. Well, Meredith is very modest. So while I learned a lot about autism, and I moved up a very steep learning curve over the last nearly 5 years, and Meredith helped me a lot in that. She learned a lot about technology, and it's just like inherent in terms of what we do, because she works very closely, not just with the consultants, but also with the clients and the team members, and is on a weekly basis very close in meetings. So by definition, she effectively picked up a lot in terms of the 4 vertical technology areas I will talk to in a second. But allow me maybe to give you a little bit of an overview and a context in terms of who we are and where we're operating, and really where our origins were. So we were founded in 2012 by a German entrepreneur at the time, whose son was on the spectrum, and he was disenchanted with the career outlook and the career prospects for people on the spectrum. So he set it up, if you want to, as a little bit of an adventure and an entrepreneurial adventure. And he set it up as a social enterprise. It resonated very well with the German industry at the time, because we were obviously started out in Germany. And from there, we grew into other European countries. We're now in 15 markets all around the world. We're in Scandinavia, in Central Europe. We're also in Italy. We went across the Atlantic into the US and Canada. And 5 years ago, we set up a shop in Australia, and then we expanded from there into New Zealand. Now, our project for this year is basically Malaysia and Singapore. And ideally, we would like to go into Thailand as well. So that's really the strategy for 2025. And really, our mission is, we talked about majority autistically driven. And so we have over 500 autistic colleagues, and they are on the client-facing side. So they're effectively we refer to them as consultants. They have different levels, from a junior analyst right up to like a principal consultant. But our mission is very much around 3 fundamental, drivers, if you want to. One is really like shifting the perception and improving the awareness of autism and neurodivergent conditions. So that's a big task and a big mission of us. The second one would be around providing some meaningful employment, some high-quality careers for people on the spectrum, which are lasting. Because one of our challenges before they came to us, our consultants, it was very difficult for them to hold a job, not because of their fault, just the opposite. It was very difficult to basically be accepted in the professional world. So once they obviously come to us, and I describe it very often as a family, we provide the right conditions and the right environment, which they can have phenomenal careers, very much associated like moving out of the family home for the first time, earning their own money, and get some sustainable long-term stability there. So the third mission is really around being a catalyst to encourage neurodiversity in the workplace. And I think we still have to go a long way there. And every country basically is facing that skill gap. And one way of closing that is looking in a more entrepreneurial way, in a more innovative way at alternative sources of talent. And neurodiversity is an ideal source of some phenomenal talent. And we see that every day. Like every day we have a new client coming on board, we have a new consultant, and the impact they're having is extraordinary. And so if you look at all of our clients, we tend to start with a 6 month pilot. And then in 99% of the cases, these initial early month pilots translate into multi-year type of assignments. So it's a long-term partnership we have with our clients. We tend to work with, in Australia, would be ASX 200. So pretty much like the larger end of the corporate world in each market we are, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Scandinavia and Germany, etc. So those companies who tend to have a larger IT department, more structured processes, and a bigger group in the technology world. That's probably in terms of what I want to talk about in a quick introduction. Should we go for the next one then?
Yep. Hopefully you can see the next one.
Yeah, perfect. See, thanks very much, Meredith.
Great.
So we very often talk about the very distinct benefits of neurodivergence, and they're basically falling into 5 categories. So there is phenomenal attention to detail, which our autistic consultants can bring to bear if they are in the right environment. So in other words, we have the support network for them to flourish, and as well we define the swim lanes in terms of the area. There's a bit of background noise. Someone is probably not muting. Yeah. So attention of detail is one huge advantage in terms of what our colleagues bring into those various roles. There's a very direct communication style, which personally I love a lot. And coming from Germany, I've been told on numerous occasions, "Oh, you're very direct." But I think the beauty is exactly what people think, and it's very honest. Right? It's very direct. Now, if you're not prepared for that, then it could be misinterpreted and it causes a whole range of issues, right? But most of our consultants certainly fall in that category in terms of a very direct communication style. There's an out-of-the-box thinking, which really, if you look at innovation, which is the holy grail of corporate success, is all around the idea of thinking out of the box. And going forward, in order to be competitive in Malaysia, in Australia, and no matter what market, you will have to unbox basically some exceptional skills, and thinking out of the box is certainly what we bring to all of our clients. Very often you see a literal application, which can be confronting as well. So you have to be very, very refined and very clear in terms of how you communicate it. I give you a simple example. Like very early on, I sent an email to the entire team. In my mind, it was very clear I was asking for some feedback, but I was not explicit about it. And sure enough, I didn't get a single response, right? So until Meredith made me aware of it, I said, "Oh, Makoto, did you explicitly ask by when that you need a response in email?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So next time around, I was much more, educated in terms of how I draft an email. And sure enough, I got a phenomenal response rate. And the last area is certainly the hyper focus. So once the amount of work or coding or when it comes to testing line of codes, it's phenomenal, the output. And very often we actually have to slow down our team, because if not, they really just go through it like 12 hours in a row and basically finish like a week's of work within a day. And so that hyper focus and that excitement is just absolutely amazing to watch, right? And that's, is very often like Meredith's daily bread. And we have also a technical director who takes care of the technical coaching. But that's what I refer to as the 360 support model in terms of mental well-being as well as technical coaching. And while it might not be the perfect model, but it's certainly the best model I've seen out there in order to ensure long-term success and a secure outcome of work. Maybe a few little stats worthwhile mentioning. So our autistic colleagues are 3 times more likely to be unemployed or underemployed compared to people with other conditions. They're even 6 times more likely to be unemployed or underemployed compared to their peers without a disability. And if we look at some Australian stats here, the underemployment rate of people on the spectrum is 90%. So you have some phenomenally intelligent and exciting individuals. And effectively, they do work which is way below what they could do. And the unemployment rate is like 30%, right? Which is nearly 8 times the national average in Australia. And those stats will be replicated in most markets, right? So they might vary slightly, but you will find similar conditions there, which is a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. And you might have seen in the early minutes just leading up to 2 o'clock the video, which I think was the Microsoft, the 3-minute Microsoft video. Is that correct? Was it the Microsoft? I had some technical problems. I couldn't see what was played on YouTube. Was that the Microsoft video which was played?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So that's a great example in terms of where we have an exceptional partnership with an exceptional company, and where this particular colleague of us fell in that situation. He was unemployed before he came to us, and he is shining in a way which no one would have thought of, and the benefits obviously on the client side second to none, and so we tend to have, after some time, obviously, with a client, our strategy is to have some joint PR, some joint marketing, where we create some videos, we create articles. Very often we're on TV as well. So if you see behind me the Auticon Porsche here, so we're sponsoring a team called Ben Taylor Racing, and Ben is autistic. He's on the spectrum. He's a young man of 19 years of age. Interestingly enough, he doesn't have a driver's license. He cannot drive on a public road, but he can drive like no one else on the racetrack, which is incredible. So the partnership is basically like a marriage made in heaven, because he has a similar mission as we have. And it is just phenomenal to see what he can achieve with his unique skill set on a racetrack. And his dad, Grant Taylor, as well as his mom and his sister, is just a phenomenal team all around. And they basically support him in each race they're there. So hopefully we're going to be in Malaysia one day as well. Certainly Ben would be up for it, but that just gives you another idea in terms of partnership and our mission. I think that's probably all I would say. I even just jumping slightly ahead. So it's worthwhile noting that we are not a charity and we are not a recruitment company either. And that's very important in terms of to distinguish when we distinguish ourselves. So we are a global IT and professional services company, and we are for profit. Sorry? Yep. So we are for profit, and that's an important distinction, because we deliberately didn't want to go out as a charity, because we want to emphasize and highlight the unique value add contribution autistic individuals can make to companies and in the professional world, particularly when it comes to productivity, innovation, some efficiencies, the ability to speak very direct, but in a very effective way. A feedback we hear very often is that once a team member is fully integrated, that the team meetings are much more productive, because we all have been in meetings where there was a lot of fluff and a lot of indirect communication, and it doesn't help anyone. So those meetings tend to go shorter now. They're very direct in terms of what I need to know, what I need to do. and people then do their own thing. And so that is a very, fortunate and a nice side effect. And we hear that on a regular basis in terms of the teams our consultants are in. We have been very fortunate that we've been supported now for many, many years with by a group of very interesting shareholders. So Sir Richard Branson, we have the Porsche family there as well, the Porsche Trust. We have 2 venture capitalists, they're social impact funds. And the beauty with that is they have a very long-term horizon. So it's not a classic private equity in terms of 10 times return over a few years. Those investors are long-term partners of us, and they understand our mission, and they're fully bought into it. And I had was fortunate enough, and Meredith as well. We met Sir Richard Branson last year when he was in Melbourne, and he was there because of his cruise ships. And so we just phoned him up and said, Sir Richard, it would be amazing if you have some time, which he did. And he spent actually a lot of time with us and Ben. And that is just fantastic. And he's just like such a great advocate of our cause, which is just beautiful. Now, we tend to work in 4 technical verticals, I call them. So cybersecurity is one, quality assurance and testing. So this is software testing is another one. Data analytics, data migration, or as well as cloud and reporting is probably the third. And that's probably growing the fastest, exponential growth we see there. And the last one is basically what's referred to as software engineering, or that's coding. And while I would love to go into non-IT related areas, but that's basically our bread and butter, and that's the core, and that's certainly our history where we came from. We do have some conversations with, for example, some supermarket chains to actually go more into the shop front, whether this is tills, bakeries, etc. We can do that as well, and we're planning to do it. The support model is similar, not identical. And we believe there is a lot of merit in that space as well. And I would like to do that in Malaysia in particular. So, but at the moment, the core offering is basically in those 4 verticals. Whenever you would like to have a look at those videos, we were on Channel 9 in Australia here as well, because they realized what we're doing, and obviously heard as well of Sir Richard Branson. And suddenly we had some cameras push in our faces in a good way, because it obviously helps our cause. And so those 2 links here, if you would like to watch it at your own time, feel free. That's probably, I would say, I would leave it with that. Feel free to ask any questions. We will come back to that. But maybe we just keep rolling, and I flick the footy ball over to Meredith.
Thanks, Bodo. So that's a bit of an in-joke. I am an AFL football nut, and I barrack for the mighty Melbourne Demons. So
Cheers.
yeah, we
Cheers.
had our practice game today and we won, so I'm pretty happy. But we digress. So Bodo mentioned our 360-degree support and coaching model. We're very proud of this model because it really does place our technologist at the centre, or our consultants at the centre. And we provide technical support by our technical director. Murray helps to guide our consultants with technical matters and helping them to grow their skill sets and their career development. Bodo also mentioned that we are here for the long term, and it's really about career development, just not short-term jobs. On the other side, you can see that the neuroinclusion specialist team. So our role is, as I've mentioned, to support all of our technologists and our clients and partners around the non-technical aspects, so the soft skills, so things like communication skills, things like how to be organized, how to plan, how to be prepared for meetings, as well as other employability skills. So we work very closely, the NIS team and the technical team work very closely together to support all of our technologists and our consultants, as well as our client champions and team members. All of those elements are extremely important in the success of both the client relationship and the products and the projects being delivered, as well as the technologists having a career for the long term.
Can I just jump in there,
Yeah,
Meredith?
go
I
for it.
cannot stress enough how unique and how important the work is Meredith and her team is doing. And I'm not saying that to flatter her, but I would say this is probably the holy grail of Auticon's success. Because as you all know, you have obviously autism as an overarching conditions, but then you have these co-conditions, whether it's anxiety, ADHD, suicide ideation. There's a long list of it. So we and Meredith, you might want to talk about it in detail because we also have to deal with those. And you can imagine in a work environment, particularly in some stressful environments where there's time pressure, where you have corporate politics, etc. It is not an easy environment to assimilate and to get used to, right? And you need time, right? So for everyone, right? Anyone needs that time. And so without that mental well-being and the job coaching, as well as the technical coaching on the side, it would be basically a gambling exercise, and it would be very dangerous to actually try that, right? But because of it, that's why I describe it as a holy grail. We can, and we have been doing it successfully now for, as I said, over 12 years. And we bring that unique productivity, innovation, these unique value-adding benefits into a corporate environment. But it's not straightforward, right? So it takes some finesse, basically. Meredith, would you agree?
Yes, it certainly does, and obviously every individual is different, and it is very much our model supports the health and well-being of all of our consultants, as well as from a technical perspective, and mental health concerns and challenges are something that we do provide support and help with. Obviously, we're not necessarily psychologists, and sometimes team members need to be referred to external supports and professionals. But at times it can be quite challenging for our technologists. If, for instance, depending on as an example, their tolerance for uncertainty or their need for routine, and if they're placed in a new project and there's lots of change, or there's meeting changes and dates, and that can be quite challenging for a person and have an impact on their mental health and well-being, which we also need to support them with. So moving on to the next slide, which is where it's a good segue to where coaching can be helpful. So obviously it can help across a range of areas. So on the right-hand side there, you see these are the areas as the NIS team we support our consultants with, so communication, team integration, helping strengthen resilience, executive functions, managing mental health, changing roles within an organizations, an adjustment to work situations, environments, and really understanding their own strengths and the areas of support, because it's everyone is different. So it's quite individualized. And as Stephen Shaw said, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism.
Yeah.
So coaching can be helpful across the areas of making sense of an existing or a recent diagnosis. Some of our team members, and I help manage the recruitment process at Auticon. So most of our candidates would be autism level 1, which there was a brief mention at the beginning of the session. So most would be level 1. Some may be level 2 or a combination of level 1 and level 2. And many may have received a diagnosis just within the recent 12 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. Probably a higher percentage of our consultants have received more so recent diagnosis rather than an early childhood diagnosis. But we can support, because we are Auticon, and it's short for Autistic Consultant, that disclosure piece has already been taken care of. All of our clients and partner organisations know that the team members going into their organisations have a diagnosis. What that means is it helps us to prepare a working environment that's supportive and inclusive. We don't expect our technologists and others in the team to shout it from the rooftops. It's a very personal thing about how much somebody wants to share and disclose beyond their immediate team. But the fact that their immediate team, their immediate, manager knows means that we can talk through the areas requiring support. And it's very beneficial in terms of creating that inclusive and supportive workplace so that a person can thrive and be themselves and be beneficial to the organisation as well. There are other areas, for instance, communication, which is, as Bodo mentioned, is a different style of communication. Everyone has a different style. Some are more direct, some enjoy communication, interaction. There's also managing workplace relationships. So workplace politics can be fraught, and it can be challenging. Obviously we're dealing with performance. As Bodo mentioned, we are a for-profit organisation, so therefore there is a job to do, and we support our team members and our clients to reach those goals. Obviously, the sensory preferences and reasonable adjustments for the workplace and every individual is really important. We need to get to know every individual and what that looks like. And we've also talked a bit about the mental health and well-being. So, we are concerned from a holistic perspective from all of our technologists to ensure that they're thriving and, being the best version of themselves.
Meredith, sorry, before we continue, I'm thinking we might want to answer one or the other question which is coming through. So there's one, for example, which university courses we would like to see. That's pretty straightforward. They don't have to have a university degree. Some of our colleagues started coding when they were 12. And so by the time they finish school, they're experts in the one or the other language, right? Or started testing just to build their own applications, etc. Now, if there is a university degree, some of our colleagues do have it, that's great. As long as they have one of those four areas we're operating, these four verticals I talked about, while they're with us, they go through additional training, because our mission is that they're at least, and our objective is that they're proficient in at least two of those four verticals. So in other words, cybersecurity and data analytics, or that they are coders, but then we ask them also to gain additional skill set in testing and software testing. And that helps us and it helps them in terms of building additional skills, as well as our ability to actually place them with additional clients or some new clients. So we're pretty agnostic when it comes to university degrees or courses, as long as they have practical knowledge and ideally experience as well in one of those four verticals.
And we talk a little bit later on as well about a case study as well to demonstrate that. And I think there was a question about age. So some are straight out of university and younger, but the age group varies. But it's really around skill sets, and passion is the thing that we're very interested in as well.
So we had colleagues as young as 18. I think one was even 17. And so obviously we worked with the parents as well, which was an exception. But on average, I would say they're probably early 20s, mid 20s, and then they go up to, like we have even one or two in the early 40s. So hope that answered the question.
Thanks, Bodo. So just very briefly, some of you may be wondering about a bit more about the neuroinclusion specialist and what are the key attributes. So really we're wanting to, facilitate rather than just constantly teach. So the main thing that is very important is having a solid evidence-based knowledge around autism and neurodiversity. There's a lot of information out there on the internet, and if you use Google, not all of it's necessarily accurate, but it's very, very important to remain up to date and have a good, solid knowledge base. Fortunately, one of our other team members, my colleague Jane, is very much loves and enjoys research, and so we have a constant flow of the latest research and evidence. And obviously, being an organisation, a global organisation, we have coaches around the world. So we collaborate, we work together, we share knowledge, we share ways of working, as well as what the latest research and information is around autism and neurodiversity in the workplace. Having a lived experience is important. So that's either, like myself as a parent or as a person on the spectrum. between us, our coaching team, we we have about 50 years experience. We've been on the journey for a long time, so we're very much wedded to the nothing about me without me. So all of the content that we develop for training sessions that we provide to our corporate partners and other interested organisations is done in conjunction with our team members. We definitely are wedded to that, ensuring that the autistic voice is heard in everything that we do. As a coach, you've really got to have a commitment to, a growth mindset, continuous learning and improvement, review and reflection about what you are doing, the way that you're doing, and whether you can do it better. Listening skills are very, very important because we need to be actively listening. We're not just speaking to people, we're listening. We're using different types of question styles to empower an individual through the coaching sessions so that we're listening, and we may use different styles of questioning to actually support them to manage or deal with a situation that they may be challenged by. Flexible thinking, so thinking about different ways of doing things and learning, it's part of that learning as well. And the growth mindset is, can we do something differently? We also need to respond to the people that we're working with. And obviously everyone's an individual, so we need to be flexible and responding to those. And meeting the needs of every individual because everyone is very different and no two people are alike, as I've already mentioned. And a really important aspect is understanding your own health and well-being and mental health needs. It can be a really tough job at times. You need to know when you need to take a break and also have your own little routine so that you can switch off at the end of the day. Sometimes, you're thinking about people and situations and challenges when the day ends, but to really, you really need to understand how to maintain good mental health and well-being because you are there to support others. So you need to be fit and well yourself. Now, I'm not sure if there's any questions there, but otherwise we'll just keep moving on, Bodo.
Yep, thanks. So there are probably two questions I would like to address. One was around the diagnosis. So while we encourage our consultants, so the recruitment process is very refined. So with different workshops, different coaching sessions. So by the time we will basically make an offer to the individual, we have a pretty good idea that this person is probably on the spectrum, even if there's no diagnosis. We encourage them to do one over the next 6 months, but we will not force anyone to do it. So should it turn out that this person is not on the spectrum, for example, and has only ADHD, then of course we will maintain a relationship and we'll continue working with that individual. So there was another question around, would you hire ADHD, but if someone is but not autistic? There are some exceptions. We will do this as long as we're majority basically focusing on people with autism. But yes, if the skill set is right, we would be very interested in terms of talking to the individual and then would be also prepared to make an offer. But our core and the mission is certainly all around providing meaningful employment for autistic talent. But we have ways of, making some exceptions there. So the answer is yes. It depends, probably would be the right summary. Any other question while we...
I think there was a question around disclosure and I'm not sure if though my earlier comments have answered that question fully, but there was a question around but let's say if I worked at Auckland, am I going to be yeah.
Yeah.
So
you go and then
no, that's okay. So as mentioned, the companies and organizations that we work with know that all of our consultants have a diagnosis or on the autism spectrum. And as mentioned, that's important because the direct report and their mentor, we also, our clients provide a mentor, so a go-to person within the team. They would know that the person has a diagnosis, and that's the element which allows us to create a supportive and inclusive workspace. So what are the areas of strengths? What are the areas that require support? How do we provide the support in the workplace? And as mentioned, what we don't expect is for beyond that team is we don't expect people to share beyond that, they're a person that is autistic unless they want to do that. So it's a very personal thing. We understand that. Bodo, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's an important point. It's a very good question. So thanks very much for asking it. Our entire mission is to basically embrace autism, celebrate it, and provide meaningful employment. It's a superpower, right? That's the way we look at it. So that is basically our unique selling proposition to clients, and that's what we're offering. And so we want to change the world and make it a better world. So clearly that doesn't work if someone feels, oh, I don't want to share that I'm autistic, or I want to hide it, because then there's not a foundation there. There's not a relationship there. So we had that on occasion as part of the recruitment process. We try to explain where we are coming from. And we believe neurodiversity is the next frontier when it comes to diversity and inclusion, for argument's sake. And so more and more people recognize the unique skill set and the power associated to that it's actually an ability. It's not a disability. But in order to get that, and in order to move forward on that journey, the individual needs to embrace the fact that, yes, I am autistic and I'm proud of it, because I have some challenges, but I have some unique skills which I'm going to place and are going to leverage for the better of everyone involved. And so if that understanding is not there, then it's probably not the right fit for us. And we had to basically part. We made an offer, but the individual, somehow couldn't really follow our line of logic. So it is something, it is difficult, I understand, particularly if you're confronted with a new diagnosis, but it is inherent and essential in terms of who we are and what we want to achieve.
I have two questions, actually two follow-up questions from the previous question. One is about the certificate requirement. So we understand that Auticon actually doesn't need a certificate evidence during the recruitment, but during the matching process, like, would that be any issue? Because, for example, in Malaysia, usually company decide on the wages based on the academic qualification. So for any Auticon clients or employees without any certificate evidence or background, would that be an issue when it comes to this?
So I certainly can speak for Australia and New Zealand. We're way above the minimum wage there. So we pay market rates. Yes, of course, there is a fine line, a balancing act in terms of what your billing rate would be vis-a-vis a client. And it needs to be matched by the capabilities and skill set, obviously, provided by the individual. So we have to have some flexibility there. Plus, on top of that, we obviously have a rather expensive overhead structure, because we have the psychologists and the technical coaches, etc. But in each market we've been operating, we basically managed to find that fine balance. And so I don't foresee a problem in Malaysia. But we need to test that. So I'm not expecting any problems, but I'm looking forward to fine-tune that balance.
Yeah. So thank you, Bodo. And the other question that I have is just to get the concept right. Like, when the recruitment process happened and it completed, the person that come to the neurodivergent person that joined Auticon, is he considered as an Auticon employee, or is just someone represented by Auticon?
No, it's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. Everyone is on our payroll, so they become full-time employees of Auticon. And so we have the employment risk and responsibility for that matter. So, and then, like any good consulting company, McKinsey, the PwCs, the Bain of the world, they basically are charged out to the client for a particular period of time at a particular rate. But they are on our payroll, they become Auticon employees, correct?
I think this, because there is a participant who asked about whether there is a possibility that he doesn't want the future employer to know that he has been working in Auticon before. I think this will be tricky because once
Exactly.
you are in
Correct.
Auticon, it will be in your CV. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
It will be on LinkedIn, and as we all
Mm.
know, you should be accurate and honest when it comes to your curriculum vitae or your LinkedIn profile. So by definition, you will have a time there where you've been working with Auticon, and people rightfully so will ask questions. And if you don't celebrate and you don't acknowledge the fact, then it would be a difficult way to argue yourself out of this one. That's right. Correct.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Meredith and Bodo, there's a few more questions that about how to sign up for Auticon and so on. Maybe we can leave it later.
Yes,
You
we'll
can
take
continue
we
with
can
your
do that.
presentation first. Yeah.
There was also one question around digital content and marketing or functional roles. I would love to do it, really would. I mean, I would love to expand and branch out into non-IT related areas. It all comes down to the opportunity on the client side. If we can find like a billable role, absolutely. In the past, it was easier to find it in the technology space. But I would love to explore basically non-IT related roles, in particular in Malaysia, right? So I'm happy to pick up your question in terms of when and how. So we have some advanced conversations with some, phenomenal and amazing investors in Malaysia. And I'm hopeful that we're going to bring those conversations to fruition pretty soon. So my plan is to basically be operational in Malaysia by, early May. And in terms of interest, please send the details to me. And then Meredith is basically in charge of the recruitment process as well. There's a whole team around Meredith. But send it to Meredith or myself. And we will, in any case, we will get back to you. But in terms of timing, early May.
Yeah. But are you happy for me to leave this?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Is there another question? No?
I'm just
No,
saying
so
thank
no.
you so much for the
Yeah,
information.
I'm happy to take that, and then feel free just to fill any gaps. So on this page, we wanted to give you a feeling in terms of what our approach is, in terms of working with the client pre-assignment, and then basically sketching out the scope, and then what's happening basically while we are in close partnership with the client. So there's like a scoping and a blueprinting process, and that can take up to between 2 and 4 weeks. So where we really just like have intense conversations with the project owner, a champion, and really identifying what the need is, what they're looking for, and then equally on our side, who would be the best candidate so we can get this perfect match going. We encourage them to have conversations. It's not a formal competency-based interview because it doesn't lend itself to autistic talent. So we encourage them to have a conversations. We are typically in those meetings as well, so we facilitate that. So because we would like our client to get to know the various candidates and make a conscious decision, yes, we would like to work with X or with Y. Because it's a long-term, relationship where they're working together. Once we establish that, and we know who's going to go into this particular assignment, then we have 2 forms of training. One is a general awareness training, or autism awareness training, and that is either face-to-face or it's remote, and that can be the entire company. So this can be everyone at Petronas, for argument's sake, right? Or it can be a smaller group, but it is essential in terms of providing a foundation in terms of understanding what is autism, the ins and outs. And I went on several occasions, I went through that training, and it's eye-opening. It's just wonderful. So Meredith and her team created an amazing training there, which is very interactive, and it's just like pretty impressive, right? The second training is very much specific where the individual is going to be placed, like that project team. And that becomes obviously much more intimate in terms of like who is the individual, what works, what doesn't work, what the job will be, etc. So without those 2 training/introduction sessions, none of our consultants would basically hit the ground and would be basically placed in the client environment. And once we've done that in terms of laying the foundations, then effectively, as I said, we start with a 6 months pilot that gives enough time for both parties to get to know each other. And in most cases, 99% that translate into a multi-year assignment, which relationship, not necessarily an assignment, because we have two situations where our consultants go into. Either it's a project environment where there's, for a particular period of time, there's a defined project outcome where one of our colleagues is working, or we have like business as usual. So larger companies have a testing team, and we have, let's say, a testing consultant, and he or she works basically as part of that team in the BAU testing environment. And so we have, in order to support a successful process as well as an outcome, we have weekly updates in terms of project updates. We have 3 monthly catch-ups with champions. So we are very much hands-on in terms of making sure that everyone is happy in terms of what's expected as well as the outcome. Now, of course, we come across some challenges. That's part and parcel. That's doing business, right? But because of the process we have with the job coaching and the technical coaching, we can identify issues early on, and we can put some mitigation strategies in place. And therefore, we feel very comfortable with this process and with the approach. And we've replicated that now in 15 countries around the world over the last 13 years. So that means we still refine it, right? Because every colleague is different, right? And sometimes we have to adjust it. Now, we do have a core process which works and is proven, but on the periphery, we have options basically of tailoring it, reducing some of that support or increasing it wherever it's required. Meredith, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so obviously support needs to meet the needs of the individual, and sometimes there are times when there is perhaps change, or there might be some anxiety-inducing things that are happening on the client side or within the role, or personally for an individual. So we have the flexibility to increase the amount of support that we provide each of our consultants. So that could be anything. Generally, it's about every 2 weeks we meet with a consultant, but it can be as high as, on a weekly basis, or Teams pings. We use technology to our advantage as well. There's Teams meetings, there's touching base with somebody, through Teams, instant messaging, phone calls, and other things as well. So we do really respond to the needs of the individual and adjusting those supports, as well as also for the client as well. So we start off when it's a new client or a new team member going into their team. We meet more frequently with the client. We, get an understanding of how they work, and every organization has their own different ways of working, and there's some changes also happening, in terms of post-COVID and being on site and so forth. But every organization has their own ways of working. We're there to support the client, to build their capacity around understanding autism and neurodiversity in the workplace. How do you create a neuro-inclusive workplace? How do you support an individual to unmask and be themselves, and create that environment where everybody can thrive?
Can I ask
Thank you, Meredith.
questions?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this is a very new model in Malaysia. So far, I haven't come across any
Sorry, I think we're
companies
dropping.
or
I think you're dropping off.
organization
Dr. Lau, you're breaking up.
Hello, can you? Hello,
Oh, still breaking
it's
up,
now
Dr. Lau.
better? Oh, okay. Then maybe I'll come back later after I disconnect. I will log out and log in again.
Sorry, Dr.
Meredith,
Lau.
It's now better?
Yeah, maybe, or just turn the video off might help as well.
Oh, okay, all right. I just want to ask questions related to this model, this consultation model. So just to clarify, which means the Auticon employee will be subcon to the client company as a consulted as an IT consultant, right?
Mhm.
That is the first step. And
Yes.
then during this process, they will be be supported by the team in Opticon, and the duration is typically can be last until 52 weeks, sorry. It's probably about
Yeah.
1 year contract.
It can be 3 years, right? So let me reiterate that because that's important. So thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for the questions. Every Auticon consultant is on our payroll. So they are full-time employed by Auticon, the entity, and have all the rights and responsibilities and duty as any employee, right, with the company. So what happens like with McKinsey or Bain and Company or Carney or any consulting company, PwC, KPMG, you can mention all of them, they work with clients. And for that service they provide, Auticon in this case, or the other consulting company, issue an invoice at the end of the month for services rendered and provided to this particular client. And that invoice is paid. And obviously we pay the salaries of our consultants, but we issue an invoice to our clients. But they are our consultants, they're on our payroll. We look after them and we support them. And the duration of the assignment or the working partnership could be, as I said, up from 6 months as a pilot to multi-year. Like we have Woolworths as a client, as our strongest and biggest clients in Australia. And we started with them and we're still working with them. And so after 5 years, yes, of course, things are changing, but those relationships can be multi-year working relationships where one consultant sits in a client office. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Hui Min, that answers your question?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Now there's another good question, which is probably for Meredith here, saying, do you have any, or is it just shifted? Do you
To
have any
mitigate the
advice?
workplace discrimination.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really big question and a big topic, and I'm not sure that we're going to have enough time to do it justice because I'm looking at all the slides. What I will say is that and it's in part around the disclosure piece as well. Look, do you know what? I'd be happy to talk separately offline and out of this meeting about that. It can be very challenging. It's really around finding the middle ground and supporting both parties about how to deal with that. But we can't really do it justice in the time that we've got. So I'm going to put that in the parking lot, and I'm happy to take that up separately.
Yeah. And the other, I think that's a good way of handling that. The other question in terms of process, if you are interested in Auticon, I encourage you, please send your CV now, right? So the idea, depending on the conversations we have with various parties in Malaysia, is that we're operational by early May. But that means I would like to look at individuals and talent now and leading up to it, right? So feel free, if you're interested, feel free to reach out to us with a CV. That would be great. Thank you.
Yep, and my email address and Bodo's email address is also on the last slide when we get to it, so you'll have an opportunity to note it down, so you can send all of those CVs through to me. Look, I think Bodo's mentioned, you've mentioned there having getting into banking and maybe fraud control. That would be a great, that would be fantastic to get into. And there's obviously the strengths of an autistic person would be sensational in that area. Cybersecurity is something as well. But Bodo, was there anything you wanted to mention to this slide?
On that page? Yeah, absolutely. So really what I would like to share with you, obviously our bread and butter is certainly the consulting services in those 4 verticals. I would love to do forensic accounting, banking, fraud control, absolutely, right? And that would almost like go back into where I came from in terms of financial services strategy and ops consulting. So that's our bread and butter in terms of those consulting services. That's basically what you have here in terms of we talk a lot to the CIOs, to tech executives. and talk about unique projects or BAU environments. But over the last 2 years, we have been also investing heavily in a new service and a new proposition, which is very much geared towards like, CEOs for that matter, but as well group HR directors, HRDs. So the idea here is what we call neuro-inclusion services. So these are a suite of offerings and services which could be summarized as transformational change to help companies to be more neuro-inclusive. So you figure out, there's some diagnostic tools in there, you figure out where you're at the moment, where would you like to be, and then basically as part of that journey, there are various projects, capabilities which the organization needs to build, and we basically can help these organizations as part of that transformational journey over many years. And so that is a new offering, which goes in partnership, in parallel to these consulting services. We call it lived experience as well. It goes very much hand in hand. But the intention is basically help companies to take advantage of some unique value-adding benefits and the outcome. And I mentioned, productivity, the innovation. The third, one of those benefits is very much like the employee engagement, because what's happening is any company, right, in Malaysia, in Norway, in Germany, wherever, have already a sizable number of neurodiverse employees already. Now, some of them manage to mask and learn to mask over the years, which comes at a high price. So you have very often burnouts, or they go home and are completely exhausted. But they learn to survive in a system which is not very neuro-friendly. So those individuals, suddenly you basically give them the signal that they are accepted. And what we see every day, that those individuals, those existing employees out themselves, basically saying, you know what, I had such a hard life over the last few years, but now I feel I can speak openly about it. And they embrace that basically, and they're no longer afraid of basically sharing that. So we see that, and any company wants to actually secure and make sure those important employees, they're very often like some high achieving employees, you want to secure them, you want to protect them, and you don't want to lose them. So in terms of that war for talent or the talent gap, the worst thing can happen is basically those individuals go. Now, equally, other employees feel be encouraged, particularly the younger generation, who are actually looking for companies who have a social purpose, who are much more inclusive. And so the employee engagement tends to go up in those partners, those clients we work with. And obviously there's still a big argument to be made in terms of ESG. So and we stand for the S, for the social. So the environmental, social, and governance aspiration and the reporting around it. And so there's some phenomenal benefits which any company can basically count on if they embark on a journey with us on that. So maybe the last bullet point on the left here, lower side, would be that very often we describe our services as that we are the outsourced partner of our client's neurodiverse employment strategy. So in other words, if a company would like to invest in that space, but are afraid of what's required, or they're anxious in terms of, what needs to be done, then effectively they can do the lock, stock, and barrel in terms of coming to us. We provide pretty much like the entire service end to end, right? And if you want to, we also maintain the risk, right? Because they're not hiring autistic talent. We do it, right? And so while they work with us and while they're effectively de-risking that neurodiverse employment strategy, effectively we help them to move up the learning curve and become much more experienced, more comfortable. And in a way, we love to work ourselves out of a job, right? If over time they feel comfortable enough to run it themselves, that's fantastic, right? Because we have plenty of other opportunities. Now, if they don't want to do that, we are super happy to work with them. That's why I'm talking about these long-term partnerships. But the neurodiverse employment strategy, which they would like to implement, we can help them basically, particularly in the early years.
Yeah, thanks, Bodo. And that's a good segue to one of the questions here. There's actually two questions. One is about salary. So as Bodo mentioned, salary is market. It's based on, your level of experience and expertise in the role. And with regard to the other question there about, so would you like to talk to companies which employees are currently working in? That's what we currently do. So we, as Bodo just mentioned, we help a lot of organizations who want to either commence or continue their journey into neurodiversity because they know that there are already autistic and neurodivergent employees there. And so it helps to build what we call their capacity around knowledge and ways to support. What do we mean by, adjustments in the workplace, how you can help and obviously support those that are already in their companies. So, but I'll just move to the next slide.
Yeah,
Let me
so
know if
maybe
you want to just skip
one
over or
additional
keep going.
comment. One additional comment to that question. What helps us to be successful? And so by definition, then our autistic talent and consultants and colleagues is two things. One is we have access to uniquely, talented individuals who want to work with us, right? So because if they're great, effectively they can help our clients. The other equation, it's almost like demand and supply, is basically we need to find companies who are willing and interested to work with us. And not every company is ready for it. So in order to, if I would reach out to this community, please help us in terms of, sending your CV if you would like to be considered, as well as if you have friends, family, work colleagues who are interested in that topic, please ask them to reach out to us as well. And so that is essential in order to grow the pie and help more people in terms of being brought into that community.
There's a great question there as well, Bodo, about one of the challenges of an ASD adult faces is to be sustainable in a job. So do we have a high dropout rate? I think our new report that's about the social impact report might have some stats around that, which I don't remember off the top of my head, but you might, but certainly.
But the answer is very low. So the dropout rate is low, and it's not zero, right? We do have some churn for different reasons, right? But it is the reason why it is actually very low is like most of our consultants, this is like 80-90%, have experienced some severe hardship before they came to us. Unemployment, anxiety, depression, they had no income, which was obviously then aggravated a lot of their core conditions. So suddenly they come into an environment where they work with like-minded individuals, they make new friends, and they feel for the first time, not everyone, but a lot of them feel for the first time appreciated in terms of what they can bring to the table and recognized for that. Plus, obviously, have a secure income and have a meaningful life. You don't give that up lightly, right? So if you do want to give it up, then there has to be some really good reasons. For example, we have occasionally that they have been offered a phenomenal job, but even sometimes that doesn't motivate them to leave because the support structure we provide and the additional help, plus like the friendship which comes with a lot of their colleagues, not giving up lightly. So it doesn't happen very often that individuals leave.
Yeah, it's very low. Thanks, Bodo. Also, there's a question about, the placement and the program. We're not actually a program. We're an IT services organization, and we actually employ all of our team members. And so usually our clients, if a project finishes with a particular client, whether it's after a year, 2 years, or even 3 years, they may then go on to another client. There may be some bench time in the end, but it's just important to remember it's not a program as such. Bodo, would you like me to move to the next slide? And I'm just
I think
reading the
maybe I
next
would like
question
one or two words on this
expand
one here because very often we get asked in terms of, why should company invest into the neuro inclusion space? And I talked about some of those benefits, but the two important stats I would like to talk about, the elephant in the room, I described it. 15 to 20% of the global population, or take any country, or in Malaysia, would be categorized as neurodivergent. It could be actually more. If you bring in the entire community of neurodiverse individuals, from anxiety, depression, Tourette's syndrome, the whole church, if you want to, right? But 15 to 20, I think, is a conservative assumption, which is a huge amount of people. It's a big group, right? So by definition, no country, no company, no one can really ignore that and not invest and look for talent in that group, right? Because otherwise you just leave some phenomenal individual not considered, basically, right? So that is a lack or a loss of competitive advantage for a company or for a country, for that matter. Now, the other interesting stat is, like, by 2029, the millennium and the Gen Z generation will make up 72% of the world's workforce. Now, they are different, right? And I can say that, like, with my modest age. So by definition, companies have to adjust in terms of how they can create an attractive workplace. Make it more inclusive, make it more attractive, create more employee engagement, etc. So the neurodiverse strategy we're proposing certainly will help to achieve that. And so that's another benefit in terms of seriously considering investing in neurodiversity. The reasons below, I talked to it already, so we don't need to go into it in more detail. Maybe the next page, then, Meredith. There we talked about some additional impact areas, so whether it's compliance, some brand equity, as well as avoiding legal disputes. And then we see that actually here in Australia. So we have recently been introduced by some new legislation which allows employee to make it much easier to actually sue companies for if they perceive that their mental well-being has not been looked after, or if conditions are in place which could aggravate a condition. And so while on the one side this is positive, on the other side this actually causes a real problem for companies to actually create that environment, and also making sure that they're not so that basically the conditions are in place that they will not be sued, right? So I think having a more neurodiverse environment and an ecosystem will help you basically avoiding, like, very expensive litigations, and they are very stressful, right, for everyone involved. So all up, in summary, NI investment delivers a tangible and strong commercial benefits along the entire value chain. It is not just an innovation or not just a productivity play. And so that is the big argument for any company, for any country, to seriously engage and invest in that space. I think we can probably go over that page as well, because it reiterates some, because this is interesting. Now we're getting into the case study space. And we thought we'd just share with you, like, 3 selected sample companies. So we worked with 6. We're obviously still working with Microsoft and Vicinity. Vicinity Center is they do large malls and shopping centers. So, and really, depending on which project or which assignment we're talking about, these inherent super skills or super talents, we mentioned it right at the beginning of the presentation, come to bear in each of those assignments, whether it's the accuracy in this particular project, or the sustained concentration which is required. At Sixt, we had a data migration project, which was actually very tiring and very difficult. But with the team we put in place, they had a phenomenal time frame in terms of where they achieved completion there.
There was also some innovation in that project as well, Bodo, by one of our team members, which actually meant that they were able to beat the deadline of the role. Just some innovation, which is some of the things that we find with our team members when they're working in a project. Sorry, back to you, Bodo.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
No,
Thanks so
that's
much.
okay. No, that's okay. And obviously with Microsoft and Vicinity, again, with Microsoft, again, we've actually there's been some innovation involved in that particular work as well. There is our team can get in there, and they have found some new and exciting ways to look at the processes that are there and created some innovation again. And in terms of delivering the outcomes that are required for Microsoft. But again, it's those attributes of the attention to detail and the hyper focus and out of the box thinking. Vicinity, the same, pattern recognition, and being able to learn very quickly as well. The aspects of the role there at Vicinity, and again, as with most of our team members, they're delivering ahead of time most of the projects.
Thank you, Meredith. There's a great question here. I think I would love to. I would like to address. So, can an active, healthy 70-year-old become a coach?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yep.
age is just, this is just a number, right? So, yeah, we would love to hear from you for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay. All righty. So we've talked a little bit about, I was going to spend a moment just to talk about the way that we challenge traditional recruitment practices in case there are some organisations there, but really, and our recruitment processes are different. It's quite comprehensive. We consider the characteristics of people with autism when we're designing and developing our recruitment practices. We encourage organisations to also rethink their practices to make them really inclusive. We encourage organisations also to challenge their expectations, things like, expecting somebody to look at you during an interview, or providing questions in advance, for instance. Why can't all of the questions that you want to ask in an interview be provided in advance to everyone, not just autistic or neurodivergent applicants? And implementing some of inclusive practices. For us, our recruitment processes look like, as a CV comes in, we have a look at the CV. We then send out a request so that we get an understanding also of technical skill sets. It's a self-assessment around skill sets. There is an informal chat, not a job interview, but an informal chat with myself and the technical director, where we get to explore more around the passion, experience, what really drives somebody, what are they passionate about, what's their experience. And this is where it's not necessarily important for somebody to have a degree. It's around those years of experience. As Bodo mentioned earlier today, somebody may have been coding since they were 9 or 12 years of age, for example. Our recruitment processes then also involve an online 2-day workshop where we have an opportunity again to bring like-minded individuals together. They do some assessments around technical skill sets and problem solving, and they have an opportunity to work together as a small team, working on a business case scenario, and do a presentation at the end. So we like to give everybody every opportunity to demonstrate their strengths in different ways, because not everybody is great at putting together a CV. Not everyone is great at answering questions in an interview. Sometimes you need to have an adjustment there. They might prefer to type the answer rather than verbalizing responses. So we really do like to challenge around recruitment practices and encourage organizations to do that. Bodo, did you want to add anything to that before I move on to the next slide?
No, absolutely. Meredith just forgot to mention that we also have a 3-month US Marine style physical fitness program. So, no, I'm kidding.
He's joking. That's
I'm
a joke.
joking. Yeah. So no, but it is a special process, and we developed that over the last few years, and we even refined it to make it a remote process as well. And we had to do it as part of COVID. But it works well, and all of our participants, even if they are not selected for different reasons, they get something out of it, because they're sprinkled in coaching sessions. They make some new friends with like-minded individuals, obviously, and it is a new experience for most of them. Also, the case study, for example, where they present back to, like, I tend to play the CEO role. But it is a great learning experience for most of them who have not been exposed to like the one or the other tool or practice. So it works well. It's a win-win for everyone. Yeah.
So if you send your resume in to me, you'll receive an email from me, and we'll be chatting about your skill sets shortly after that. So getting the right fit. So this is a really important component of our model. It's very important for us to match the right person with the right role. This is where, it starts with the informal chat. We explore the skill set of each individual. We are then comparing it with what are the skill sets or the skills required for a particular role that we might have available with a client. This is, employer driven. The matching is one of the things that we do most often. It's key to ensuring that we can deliver also from a client perspective in the project or the business as usual work that is needing to be done. Job carving is not as prevalent, but we do a little bit of it. That's where we are working with the partner organisation to create a role to match the skill set. So they may come to us and say, okay, we have a project that's, looks like this. It's this big. These are the skill sets. We want, this, and they need to be able to present. They have to have good communication skills and do all of these things. So we may then have a conversation with that client and say, look, we have a person on our books. They have, 80% of the skill sets to match to that role. Let's just carve that role. Let's just modify that role so that we can put in this particular consultant who can deliver the rest of that role, or we may put in two people in terms of one person's strengths. Look at 80% of the role, and then the other person's strengths to the balance of the role. Job crafting, we don't really get too involved in, and this is really employee driven, where somebody may want to modify their role a little bit, just dependent on their own skill sets and interests, and ways of working. So we don't really get too involved in that. It's really job matching first of all, and then the job carving and working with our partner organisations. Bodo, would you like to add anything to that before we move on?
No, I think you covered it nicely, but I would like to talk about a question like, could a parent represent or co-represent the job/entrance discussion with you?
Yep.
I feel very passionate about it, and Meredith, I know you as well. So the answer is we do not like that, full stop. We are strong advocates of empowering our autistic colleagues. And I think it's important that they start to learn to be independent and somehow build some resilience as well as some skills in the professional world. I do not believe you do your kids, in this case, a favor by actually showing up to a work conversation or a job interview. It's probably the worst you can do. And we had one or two of those situations, and we were very tough with the parents. On one occasion, we were actually not aware that suddenly the parent showed up, and we had a pretty stern conversation afterwards. But Meredith, maybe you want to add to that.
Yeah, look, I won't say that it doesn't happen. It has happened, as Bodo has mentioned. We do encourage independence. Yes, we do. And as Bodo mentioned, we do encourage independence, because at the end of the day, our consultant needs to be in a workplace environment, and they'll be supported by a job coach. But it's really important that you allow them the space for growth. In those skill sets around being able to articulate. I think a parent can help in maybe, supporting their child or adult child to prepare before they speak. By all means do that, help them. What are the questions you'd like to ask, or what is the information that you'd like to know? By all means. But it's best probably
driving,
if you don't.
let's say you are employed and you have a job, and driving, for example, the individual then to the workplace, right? That's great, right? Rather than taking a bus if that's associated with anxiety. So they can help there, but I agree, you need to provide that space so they can grow into it.
Now, I know I'm conscious of time. We're getting to the end. I was very briefly going to talk about a case study. We've probably talked enough about this in that not all of our consultants have a degree. This young person, and in fact, ironically, his mother reached out to me first, sent an email. His mental health was quite poor, and it took some time for him to be encouraged to have that independent conversation and to have him drive that. So there was that separation in the end between the parent and this young person then running with the process. So she stepped right back, and I didn't have any further contact with her. But this young person had dropped out of university during COVID, was able to demonstrate, was very, very passionate around data, was able to demonstrate, this is what I do. I get the data from my gaming group. I just love doing this. And we could see that the passion that this young person had. We also had a new potential new client. They were very interested in starting their journey into neurodiversity and autism in particular. The sponsor, which is the usual case, had a personal connection to autism, and we began that journey together, and it was a very successful outcome and a long-term benefit for the individual as well as for the organisation. We discussed, obviously, one of the key things that we talk about is the universal accommodations and adjustments, and for this young person, I've highlighted in yellow some of those things. So we needed to support him around predictability, making sure that instructions were provided, deadline clarity, some of those accommodations and adjustments that were essential to create an inclusive and supportive workplace for him, and obviously building the skill sets for his team on the client site. So they went at the beginning with very little knowledge through to having extensive knowledge and implementing strategies themselves as they went along. We've got just a couple of profiles that we've got here. I won't hold these up for too long, but just to show that we also obviously have people such as Meta, who does have a bachelor's degree, has extensive skill sets, very senior, is a senior consultant, very independent with her working and able to deliver. And Mako, whose background was in engineering and robotics, and has since learned those skills, around data and analytics. Again, and Mako's been with us for since we started in Australia, so about 5 years, so very long-term employment with us. Bodo, I'm going to hand back to you for closing comments, and maybe
I think I'm going to close here because I'm really conscious of the time. It's 6:28 here, or 3:28 on your side. Thank you so much for your interest and in the topic, but also interest in Auticon. And thank you for sparing, obviously, a well-deserved Saturday, your weekend as well. We would love to hear from you if you are, an individual who's interested working with us. If you are a potential client, would like to find more about, or if you know of companies who would like to explore, please reach out. Or if you would like to become an investor as well, please reach out. So there's plenty of conversations. I will be in Malaysia again end of April. And thank you so much. It was fantastic. Really appreciate your time and interest.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. And likewise.
Thank you, Mr. Bo and Ms. Meredith, for the presentation. And thank you so much for going to bring this support into Malaysia. I think this is something very new and excited, the new model to support neurodivergent talent. And I think this actually strengthened up our support system for our adults with neurodivergent. And there are so many questions from the audience as well. Thank you so much. But for those audience who are also interested to know more about job coaching, please do stay with us. We have a short announcement here. And for others, please do fill up the feedback form. You have a feedback form in the chat box, and we can share with you again the link. Do fill up the feedback form, and some audience, you might want to have a certificate. If you fill in the feedback form, the certificate will be auto-generated and sent to your email. So please do also take the screenshot of this with the information, because just now we heard that many of you would like to send CV to Auticon.
I'm going to be very busy.
Yeah, so but everyone is so happy and excited. We can see that many of them actually put down the comments that they really appreciate that this is going to happen in Malaysia. And I think they can also access to the information in auticon.com.au, yeah, Auticon website in Malaysia. So I think now I would like to invite our admin to share the poster. We have received a request from a postgraduate student from Monash University who is doing a research on job coaching. So she's currently recruiting participants for her research. So I wonder, Miss Azimeh, are you here? If you're here, you can unmute and tell our participants about your research. The research is about assessing the impact of policies on employment outcome for young adults with autism spectrum disorder in Malaysia. So yeah, everyone, please feel free to scan here this QR code, and oh, you will receive a 20 ringgit Grab voucher. So do it. I think your support will be very important here for us to build up the ecosystem to support our adults in Malaysia. Yeah. So please do send the QR code. We can also email this to you later. Yeah. And next, I would like to also announce that Rainbow, in collaboration with our welfare department in Malaysia, and also our collaborators like Aim High and some other collaborators in Penang and KL, we are going to host a job coaching workshop on in April, yeah, on 23rd to 25th of May. So sorry, not April, of May, yeah, 23rd to 25th of May, 2025. So the participants of this workshop, you will receive a certificate from our Malaysian Welfare Department. So that will sort of give you a recognition, yeah, for the role of job coaching in Malaysia. Yeah. So yeah, so for those who wants to sign up for this workshop, currently we are opening up for our A1JC participants employment. So A1JC is a program that we organized since 2023. And that was actually a 1-month online training, introduction training for job coach who are interested to support level 1 autism. So we have conducted this training since 2023, and currently we have about 70 people who completed that course. Yeah. So now we are currently opening this enrollment for them, and we are going to open the enrollment to the public on the 1st of March. So you can follow our Facebook for more information about this, and we are going to post the public announcement on the 1st of March. Yeah. So thank you so much, Kassim. You can take now the poster. So last but not least, I would like to again thanks both our speakers, Mr. Bo and Ms. Meredith. And I would also like to thank our co-organizer, Daniel, Dr. Daniel Leong from Aim High, Malaysia. And I would also like to thank the team who are helping in setting up the Zoom and the registration. So thank you to all people from Rainbow and for Aim High who work together to make this happen. Yeah. So thank you to you, Meredith and Bo, and we hope to see you again in Malaysia. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you have enjoyed yourselves. Bye. Everyone, Adila has posted up the emails in case you missed it. It's Bodoman at Auticon on and Meredith Ward at Auticon. Don't forget Cassin has also posted up the feedback form. Yeah, I can repost it for you guys if you haven't seen it. Hi. No, I can't apparently. Never mind.